Howdy everybody. Hey, by the way, who doesn't love to see an OBS screen when we start? But anyway, welcome to just a small tutorial. We're gonna go into kind of how to make Infinity Blade 2 a little more playable on Steam Deck and controller and touchpad and pretty much anything beyond touchscreen because that's already extremely playable. So, let's go ahead and go into the controller settings because that's all that this is setting up a proper controller settings, okay? This is what I had originally, right? You have the D-pad for your normal cardinal directions, then you have the face buttons for your diagonals, which I bound to semicolon L, O, and K. Doesn't really matter what you bind them to. Okay? That's great and all, but I have found a much better way to do it. And that is what this Infinity Blade 2 radial is. So if you look, now the left joystick is just called attack wheel radial menu. Before, it looks like it was just WASD and shift for some reason. It looks like it was just a basic controller layout. Anyway, let's go into the radial menu and let's look at it, shall we? So this is the menu, right? Let's go. Actually, let's start a new one, but I'll do a new one as well. But this is kind of how it looks when you finished with it, right? You don't have to bind the middle button. In fact, I probably wouldn't really, because unless you want it to be like how you start Magic or something, maybe, I don't know, or Super. You know, you could bind it somehow. But basically, you're gonna have the 8 directions total. As you can see, it just kind of goes in a circle. That's important because this is the order that you want to add them in as well, starting from the top, going clockwise. Okay? So let's go ahead and make a new one, shall we? I tried that with Fight, and it definitely worked, but it made it really awkward trying to explain it. This is my second take. Let's see. Will you allow me to type? Yeah, sure. We'll just call it radial menu. That makes sense, doesn't it, guys? Okay. So now, as you can see, there's nothing in here right now, okay? This would be the middle button. Bind it to whatever you want. I don't really care. I'm gonna just leave it unbound right now. This is the general screen you're looking at. In the bottom left, that is your radial menu and what is bound to it, and what it will look like on screen when it is being used. Currently, there's nothing on it, so it'll just bring up an empty menu. So we're going to start. Remember I said you start from top and you work a clock, right? Clockwise. So the first one's going to be an up arrow. And personally, you don't have to use these, but if you want, you can basically label anything. They have a bunch of different symbols for this. I don't really care, but it's handy if you would like to do that. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And like, you can change basically anything you'd like to about this. We're just going to reset to system colors and hit done. Okay? I don't actually know the attack order directions, so we're just kind of gonna... We're gonna add the one... Basically how we should be adding them, right? In terms of order. So you just kind of follow it like this. These numbers that I'm choosing are just going to be the diagonals because I don't know what inputs I have set. I do know for the quad main directions. But as you can see right now, it looks kind of funky on the layout. It looks like it's not going to work out, but just keep adding them. You'll see. It's going to be fine. In fact, what I would probably do if I were smart would have been just make this a number pad, huh? But I'm not smart. Not all the time, at least. And then we go with... Well, we already have 7 bounds, so we'll go with 9. Wow. I'll actually change that in a moment. Yeah, let's just change it. Just for this example. Okay. So now we have, you can see the circle. It works. Okay? So now beyond that, you're going to want to change it. You're going to want to go down to General and change it off of Touch Release and change it to Continuous. Continuous in this case is just going to make it be that when you flick it in a direction, it will hold that direction and it will just attack for you once in that direction. That's all it does. I know it says continuously while the trackpad is being touched. It only takes it once on joystick at least, so that's great. You've got haptics. I just don't play with haptic feedback stuff. I don't actually know what that means in this case. And then you've got you could change where you're going to have the layout of your radial menu, or you can shut it off. But first, let's take a look at this, shall we? Let's go ahead and mute that music, and then we'll go into a combat. I am in negative rebirths. That doesn't... negative bloodlines, so it doesn't really matter here. Oh, actually, before we do that, before I forget, that was just an example layout. Instead of being radial, I'm going to go back to attack wheel, because that's my actual proper control scheme. That's just on me, that's not you guys. Just, you bind it how you have it bound, you know? Which you can get to through the options menu there, to see what you want to actually bind it as. Now that I have this info, I would do it as a pad. Anyway, let's fix this. I don't know why it does that every time. As you can see... Steam? There we go. As you can see, if I hold up on the joystick, I guess you can't see my inputs, but if I'm holding up on the joystick, it says up. Down is down, etc., etc. Very nice. Let's show it off in combat. My goodness, just not seeing my mouse. There we go. Okay. That's my only complaint about this, is you have to be a little more preemptive than I'm used to when it comes to swipe controls. Just because, I don't know why, it has just a second of wanting to actually take in the menu input. It still is pretty responsive. As you can see, I mean, I can do that however I need. It's just gonna take a couple minutes to just, but it's a lot better than having to learn where 8 different buttons are and what you want them to do. Anyway, as you can see though, that little menu, if you don't like it, you don't have to keep it. Let's go back into controls one more time, shall we? We're going to go into options, and we're going to change the on-screen display. Technically, you could turn it bigger if you want as well, but if you turn the radial menu opacity down to 40, apparently, which isn't 0, but if you turn it down to 40, you can't see it, but I'm inputting right now. Let's go ahead and we'll move, go this way. Do 3 perfect parries. How responsive that is. So it definitely works, even though you can't see it. I'm not swiping. I guess you're just having to take my one for that, huh? But yeah, I'm just playing this like I would with a joystick now. You just push the joystick in the direction you want to attack. Or I guess if you want to invert it or something, you could just invert it however you want. You could screw with it however you want. These are just tiny issues for getting the perfect parries, but I mean, it's working. You can tell. And it feels very fluid, like, now that I've taken a second to adjust to it. I'm just gonna lose this fight by not getting 3 perfect parries. Just kind of showing off that swiping works fine. We're gonna back out. Anyway, that's basically it for the game, right? For the setup. I think that's pretty easy to work with, and I definitely like it. I think it's pretty good. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like. Actually, hold on. Before I say all that outro stuff, let me just say thank you to Buckmasculine8540, because without him having asked me about making touchpad work, I never would have even tried to learn this. So, they ended up helping me make the game even more playable and even better to play, which is a big feat, because I think Infinity Blade 2 is pretty darn good. Pretty darn perfect. Almost. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to wrap it up there. If you like the video, please do leave a like. Subscribe if you want to see more. Eventually, I might upload once every 3 months. Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.